Praise the Lord. I greet you in the name of Jesus, and I thank you for tuning in at whatever time you may be tuning in to see this video. But today I will be talking on the topic of Boaz from two different sides, so to speak. The success, and then I will be speaking directly on his character. And I will be starting in Ruth chapter number 2, verses 1 through 9. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him in whose sight I shall find favor." And she said to her, "Go, my daughter." So she set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was one of the clan of Elimelech. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, "The Lord be with you." And they answered, "The Lord bless you." And then Boaz said to this young man, who was in charge of the reapers, "Whose young woman is this?" And the servant who was in charge of the reapers answered, "She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab." She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers." Then Boaz said to Ruth, "Now listen, my daughter, do not go glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." So I want to speak on a little bit of the successes of Boaz. And in part of his successes, he was a caring person who knows how to bless people. So the first time we see Boaz in the story, he is actually blessing his workers who bless him in return. What does that say about a person? Boaz seemed to know that this was very important. How do you approach people sets a tone for the interaction that you will have with them. Blessing is actually a very important theme in the Bible. When God created the world, he began by blessing the creation. How about starting our day with a blessing? How do you greet your spouse? How do you greet your children? How do you greet your co-workers? Or how do you greet all those that come in contact with you throughout the day? Let us repeat the words of Boaz that he used. The Lord be with you. The second thing, a caring person is also attentive to the people's needs. The next thing we see is Boaz doing is attending to Ruth's needs. He knew his workers well enough to notice something different. He asked about her. He gathered information so that he could act appropriately. He anticipated her needs. He invited her to eat with the workers. He told her she could drink from the water jugs. He gave instructions to his workers about her safety. And he told her what she needed to know so that she would not be intimidated. We have to understand everyone around us has needs. You can assume that most everyone you meet has some type of burden that they are carrying. And when you realize that, you can deal gently with people, anticipating what their needs may be. We all want people to be kind and merciful to us. Why not be that person for someone else? Boaz also was a caring person. He deals personally with people. The last thing we see in this passage is Boaz interacting directly with Ruth. We will see in the next passage that Ruth is surprised that Boaz is even talking to her. Unless you have some understanding of the culture and the history, you might not appreciate how this is significant. In that culture, as in many cultures of the world today, men don't generally interact with women unless it is of their own household or relatives. Ruth is a widow and a foreigner. That makes her especially vulnerable and more likely to be ignored. We see in this Gospel of John when Jesus is talking with the woman at the well, she is surprised that Jesus would even talk to her, a woman and a foreigner. But like Jesus, Boaz is more interested in the person than his own reputation. People appreciate when you recognize them directly. Jesus gives us this guideline for handling conflict in Matthew 18 around verse 15. And the first step is to go to the person directly. By taking to a person, well, by talking, to a person instead of about a person, we honor people's will and their choices. We let them speak for themselves. And also, a successful man is a safe person. Let's look at Ruth, chapter number 2, verses 10 through 18. Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" But Boaz answered her, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Then she said, "I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." And at mealtime, Boaz said to her, "Come here, eat, eat some bread, dip your morsel in the wine." So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain, and she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some that was left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, "Let her glean among the sheaves, and do not reproach her, and pull out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." So she gleaned in the field until evening. Then she beat out what she had gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up and went into the city, her mother-in-law, and saw what she had gleaned. She also brought out and gave her what she had left over after being satisfied. It's two words I want to point out in this gleaning. The definition of gleaning means to collect gradually, bit by bit, gathering leftover grain or other produce after a harvest. The second one is sheaves. It's just a bundle of what you have picked up. And also, the last one is an ephah of barley, which is a Hebrew unit of a dry measure equal to about a bushel, which is 35 liters. Also, a safe person sees God's image in others. We know that everyone has value. We are all made in God's image. Before mankind sinned, we were in God's image. Sin has tarnished our image of God in us. Jesus is the exact image of God by which we can be restored. God's ultimate plan is to redeem and to restore, not to judge them. You all know John 3:16, but do you know John 3:17? Let's take a look. John 3:16 through 17. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life." "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world through him might be saved." Dictators, terror groups, and other kinds of people who carry out atrocities need to first dehumanize their enemy in order to achieve their objective. We can disagree with people, even find their behavior to be very objectionable, but we should never forget that even our enemy is a person of God he wishes to redeem. Let us say that a safe person is a person who knows God's mercy and forgiveness in their own life. They do not judge others because they know how much they themselves have been saved from. I am no better than any other person that I sit across from because I know that who I am is because of God's grace and mercy. A safe person is inviting rather than controlling. True, he is giving orders to his workers and giving instructions to Ruth, but his tone is kind and gentle, and even as Ruth notes, some of us, we need to watch our tone on how we talk to people. Boaz wants to bless Ruth and be generous towards her, but even if he were to just give her grain, that would be less than a blessing. In most cultures, the world, if someone gives you something, you are obliged to give them something in return. This fact was often exploited by wealthy people and rulers who would give extravagant gifts, but then expect unconditional loyalty in return. Boaz tells his workers to leave some extra stalks of grain behind. Ruth will find the extra grain and therefore have earned her bonus. This strategy helps Ruth to keep her dignity and avoid the pressure of obligation. Jesus taught his followers to be this way. In Luke 6:32 through 36, it reads, "If you love those who love you, what benefits is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies and do good and lend." And then peep this, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great. And you will be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and to the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. As followers of Christ, we approach people with an open hand. You are free to receive, but no one is obligating you. Salvation is a free gift. Your response is out of gratitude, not obligation. A safe person is also kind and generous. We know that generosity is God's nature. Generosity flows from an unlimited source of supply. If you believe that your resources are limited to what you currently have, you will find it difficult to be generous. But if you believe that what you have received comes from a limitless supply, which is God, you will find it not difficult to be generous. It is normal human nature to reciprocate, but it's God's nature to go above and beyond. The law tells us an eye for an eye, or do unto others as they do unto you. Jesus said, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. You can give because God is your provider. In other words, take the initiative, go above and beyond. You can forgive because, why? God has forgiven you. We are not reacting to what the world throws at us. We are taking the initiative and setting the tone and reaching the world for Christ. Now, a successful man assumes responsibility. Let's check out Ruth, chapter number 4, verses 1 through 12. Now Boaz had gone up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the Redeemer of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, "Turn aside, friend, sit down." And he turned aside and sat down. And then he took 10 men out of the elders of the city and said, "Sit down here." So they sat down. Then he said to the Redeemer, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, is selling the parcel of the land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. So I thought I would tell you of it and say, buy it in the presence of those sitting here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not, tell me that I may know, for there is no one besides you to redeem it. And I come after you. And he said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you also acquire Ruth, the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance. The Redeemer said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption yourself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging to confirm a transaction. The one drew off his sandal and gave it to the other, and this was the matter of attesting in Israel. So when the Redeemer said to Boaz, buy it for yourself, he drew off his sandal. Then Boaz said to the elders and all the people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech and all that belonged to Chilion and Mahlon. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead and his inheritance, his native place. You are witnesses this day. Then all the people who were at the gate and elders said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you act worthily in Ephraim and renown in Bethlehem. And may your house be like the house of Perez, who Tamar bore to Judah, because the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman. So also, we read, to be successful, you will also need to be willing to be inconvenienced. Wow. This part of the story makes more sense when you have some biblical context. Boaz, as the next of kin or next of kin, is designated redeemer for Naomi and Ruth. In Deuteronomy, there is a law of Levaret marriage. Basically, it ensures that a man who dies without children has an heir that can take possession of his inheritance. A man is supposed to marry his brother's wife or cousin in this case, and the child will be considered the child of the deceased. This law also obligates a relative to buy land that is being sold to pay a debt, or if a person is being sold into slavery to pay a debt. It is also about keeping the family's assets in the family and being able to pass it on to the next generation. We don't have many examples of this in the Old Testament, but there was apparently little incentive or motivation to do things solely on another's behalf. When Boaz invokes the law of Levaret marriage on Ruth's behalf, seems to have counted the other kinsman's redeemer unwillingness to do his duty. When Boaz invokes the law of the Levirate marriage on Ruth's behalf, seems to have counted the other kinsman redeemer's unwillingness to do his duty. Boaz first mentions a field that belonged to Elimelech. It is likely that whatever property the family had was sold when family moved to Moab, but Boaz is right in insisting that it ought to be bought back so that Naomi and her descendants will continue to have an inheritance in the land which God gave to them. Along with the land, there needs to be an heir to inherit it. that will only be possible by the Levaret marriage to Ruth, the widow. Keep in mind that if Ruth had not followed Naomi back to Bethlehem, none of this would be possible. Even in the land were redeemed for Naomi, it will revert to whoever redeemed it when Naomi dies. The nearest relative doesn't wish to redeem the land because there is nothing in it for him. If he succeeds in creating an heir with Ruth, the property will go to the heir and not be part of his estate. In addition to that, he's already married with children, and polygamy, while legal at the time, is also very complicated. That raises another question. What about Boaz? Where was his family? While it isn't stated directly, commentators suggest that Boaz is older and perhaps a widower himself. This will make the whole situation more palatable to our sensibilities. However, if he did already have a family, then it makes his sacrifice even greater. He doesn't seem threatened by having Ruth in his household or join his household. In fact, he seems flattered that she would have shown interest in him. People like to focus on the love of Boaz and Ruth, but I think for Boaz, it was simply a matter of doing what was right. To be successful, you need to know what is your purpose. What do I mean by doing what is right? In order to do what is right, you need to know your purpose. We know that Elimelech had a prophetic destiny. His name meant our God is king. And he lived in a time of judges when there was no king and everyone did as he saw fit. Elimelech's sons were Mahlon and Chilion. Their names mean something like sickly and weakling. Ruth was Mahlon's widow. So what does Boaz mean? It means in him is strength. By acting as the redeemer, Boaz enables Elimelech's line to continue, from which would come King David and eventually Jesus Christ, the King of Kings. Though it is interesting to note even though Boaz is raising a child who is not to bear his name, Boaz is the one mentioned as the ancestor in Matthew's genealogy. Boaz takes up his God-given responsibility and helps accomplish God's destiny for Ruth, for Naomi, and for Elimelech. Boaz's purpose was to demonstrate what it really means to be strong in the Lord. To be successful, we have to be strong in the Lord. The world promotes strength as the ability to dominate. God defines strength as the ability to lift others up. The world says that nice guys finish last, but Boaz shows us that by genuinely caring, nice guys finish well. The world will tell you that if you are strong, people will fear you. But Boaz demonstrates that if you are really strong, you can be a safe person for people who might otherwise be afraid. The world admires success, but Boaz's story has a twist to it. Instead of doing what is in his own best interest, Boaz does the right thing and accomplishes something much greater than his own success. So in the end, Boaz's success story is about redemption, not just for him, but for everyone else in the story. It's about accomplishing God's purpose in God's strength. Now, I want to talk a little bit real quickly with highlight some of the characteristics that Boaz has. And it's about 8 characteristics, and then I will be finished. Number 1, Boaz, he is trustworthy. Boaz was a trustworthy person. You find that in Ruth 2:1. He is described as a kinsman, a mighty man of wealth. He was deserving of trust. He was dependable, and he was in a position to take a future wife. Ruth did not have to worry about provisions that were already taken care of by Boaz. It is easy for people to trust a person who has a reputation for being honest, reliable, responsible. These qualities do not make a person perfect, but they show good characteristics about that person. However, someone can possess these qualities and still not be a good match for you or husband material. But someone that fits what you're looking for must have these qualities. A man does not have to be wealthy to be trustworthy, neither does he have to be wealthy to get married. A man at least must be in a position to take care of a wife. Number two, he is of good character. Where's our character? Boaz proves himself to be a man of good character. His character shows the mental and moral qualities of a good person. It is the stable and distinctive qualities built into an individual life that determines his response. Regardless of life's uncertain circumstances, a man of character remains strong under pressure. Ralph Waldo Emerson defined this role as the quiet, reserved value, creating a force of the person untouched by circumstances or external pressure. A man that is ready to get married must have a good character, proven by how he lives his life and how he serves others. A good reputation is better than money. You can lose money and gain it back. But if you're a man of bad character, that is the death of your credibility. Number three, he has a relationship with God. A modern day Boaz must have a relationship with God. He must be passionate about God and not afraid to express his love and commitment to his relationship with God to you. Boaz had a great relationship with God. A godly woman should be looking for a godly man who shows his love for God to her. There must also be a level of spiritual maturity in a man of God who is looking for a wife. His relationship with God will determine the type of relationship he has with his wife. You do not want to find yourself unequally yoked with someone who is not a lover of God. You love to serve and honor. To be yoked, and means refers to two oxen that are joined together by a wooden bar in order to complete a work together. Being unequally yoked means that the two oxen are not equal in strength, one being weaker when oxen are not equally yoked. They cannot complete the task together well. So in that, when we get married, that is what basically is happening. You're joining together. Your wife is not behind you. She is right there beside you. We are equally yoked. Where she may be weak, that's where I'm strong. Where I may be weak in some area, that's where she's strong. And together, we march forward as one in the body of Christ. Number four, he is a provider. Boaz was a provider who was qualified and equipped to care for his wife. All men, especially Christian men, are called by God to provide for their families. Paul uses some harsh words in the New Testament to describe and to warn men who do not provide for their families. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. You'll find that in 1 Timothy 5 and 8. A man who provides for his family is honored by God and should be honored by his wife. A man must be a provider and he must be qualified to take care of his wife. Boaz provided water and meal for Ruth. She was cared for by a man and who understood his position as a provider. Boaz was providing for Ruth long before he made her his bride. A man must show the woman he is interested in that he is capable of caring for her. A man who seeks a wife must be in a position to sustain her. He must be hardworking and willing to do what it takes to make sure his wife is provided for. It is not about making a lot of money or being rich. A married couple can work together to build their enterprise. It is the man's responsibility to lead his wife and provide the basic needs of his family. A man must understand that God called him to be the head of the home. There is a kingdom mandate from the beginning of creation given to the man to lead his wife. He must be a protector and he must love to serve. He must love his wife as Christ loves the church. He must follow the principle of the Bible to understand his kingdom assignment here on earth. Number 5, he pays attention to his wife. The Bible says Ruth caught Boaz's attention. He saw something special about her and could not get her out of his mind. He saw qualities in her and he wanted to know more about her, and so he inquired about her. A modern day Boaz must pay close attention to the woman that he loves. He must admire her beauty and express it to her passionately. He must always see the best in her. Number 6, he is a protector. Boaz encourages Ruth to glean in the fields. He wanted to make sure she was safe. Her protection was his number one priority. He also told the young men in the field that Ruth was off limit. Don't even try to put your hands on her. Don't look at her. Don't touch her. And don't even smile at her. A man seeking to marry must know that the safety of the woman he is pursuing is now his responsibility. And it should be his number one priority. It is your job to ensure her safety. A good man will also help her to keep her clothes on, even if she feels vulnerable sexually. It does not mean that you should take advantage of her. He has gotten the opportunity, but he knows that sex should be sacred and preserved for the marriage. He does not want to defile God's gift to him. It does not mean he is not into you. This says he wants to honor you and not violate you. Number 7, he is compassionate. Boaz was a kind and compassionate person, and every opportunity he has to show kindness, he did. He was a very generous man. He loved to help those who were in need. A good man must look for opportunities to help others. He does not see serving others as a weakness, but as a strength. He understands the law of sowing and reaping. He follows the Spirit of God in him to lead him in doing good to others. He does not see people as they are. He sees them as they can be. And lastly, he was a man of integrity. Boaz was a man of high integrity. The word integrity means the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and a moral uprightness. Like Boaz, a good man must have high morals and be honest and upright in all his ways. No one is perfect, and some of you might have something in your past that could come back and impact you negatively. A person of good morals and characters will let it be known to those who are important to him. Remember, it is your past, but sometimes your past can come back to haunt us. Therefore, a man who is looking for a wife must be of good character. And the last points I just want you to think and to take and reflect on is, how do people know that you genuinely care? Does someone have to sneeze to get a blessing from you? How can you practice showing people that you value them? Do people feel safe with you? How would you know if they did or didn't? What does it look like for you to share the gospel with an open hand? Are you successful like Boaz? How does your life and your story fit into God's plan of redemption? And how can you be strong in the Lord? Thank you. God bless you, and may heaven smile upon you.